I died in an accident and woke up in the kind of trashy romance novel you find online. Worse, I was the villain, the powerful CEO's loser ex-husband. Remembering the character's miserable fate, I didn't hesitate to sign the divorce papers. The CEO's face clouded over instantly. "Will, are you sure about this?" A jolt of panic shot through me. I instinctively clutched my wallet. "Hell no, you're not getting a cent of that massive settlement back." After 3 days of lying in a hospital bed, I finally gave in and accepted my new reality. I used to be Liam Connor, a regular guy driving for DoorDash. Now, thanks to some cosmic joke, I was Liam, the toxic male lead in some cliche story. My character was the quintessential trust fund brat who'd spent his life coasting on family money and influence. At a freshman orientation event in college, I'd spotted the female lead, Diana Hayes, and became obsessed. I chased her relentlessly, eventually cornering her into marrying me. Diana was the classic heroine, brilliant and beautiful, but from the wrong side of the tracks. Her father was deaf and her mother was on dialysis for kidney failure. To cover her mom's staggering medical bills, she'd finally agreed to marry me. In 5 years of marriage, Diana transformed herself from a quiet junior associate into a rising star in the corporate world. Meanwhile, our relationship went from bad to worse. She slowly slipped from my control, but I was too arrogant to notice. I kept pushing, my behavior growing more reckless until I shoved her college sweetheart down a flight of stairs, breaking his leg. That was the last straw. Diana demanded a divorce. That's when a car crash happened. It took Diana 3 days to visit me in the hospital, and when she did, she just tossed a manila folder onto my bed. "Liam, are you done with your games?" Her voice was glacial, her eyes filled with a mixture of impatience and disgust. Even so, the moment I saw her face, my heart still gave a stupid little flutter. I had to admit the original Liam was a fool, but he had good taste. She was breathtaking. Then my eyes fell on the divorce agreement, specifically the section on asset division, and my heart nearly stopped for a different reason. Holy crap, I was about to be rich. The original Liam's family had money, sure, but he was a screw-up with a younger brother who outshone him in every way. There was no chance he'd inherit the family business. Diana, on the other hand, had built her own empire in just a few years, and her net worth was staggering. With this divorce, my settlement would be massive. I must have done some serious good deeds in my past life to deserve this kind of lottery win. After quickly calculating my take, I forced myself to suppress a grin, lowering my head and staying silent for a long moment, terrified she'd see the smile creeping onto my face. Finally, I took a deep breath. Fine, I agreed to the divorce. Diana froze. She clearly hadn't expected me to agree so easily. But this was a golden opportunity, and I wasn't about to let it slip away. Before she could process it, I snatched the pen and scribbled my signature on the TED line. A flicker of suspicion crossed her face, her brow furrowed. "You?" I turned away, adopting a tone of weary resignation. "I've thought it over, Diana. It's time we let each other go." Silence stretched behind me. Just as I was about to lie back down and start mentally counting my money again, I realized she was still standing there, staring at the signed papers. "Aren't you leaving?" I asked, genuinely curious. Diana looked up. I offered a gentle reminder. Isn't Caleb still recovering? Shouldn't you go see him?" Her face instantly turned to ice. My stomach did a little flip. Shit, is she regretting giving me so much money? But the ink was dry. It was too late for her to back out now. Besides, look how magnanimous I was being. She owed me this money. Diana had a college sweetheart, Caleb Miller. Unlike the arrogant rich kids in our circle, Caleb was gentle, hardworking, and ambitious. Raised by a single mom with no money, he'd fought for everything he had and excelled. In a way, he and Diana were cut from the same cloth. He was the only one who truly understood her, her confidant. If it weren't for me, they would have ended up together, two bright kids taking on the city after graduation, building a life. I'd ruined all of it. The Liam in the novel had been consumed by a toxic, violent jealousy toward Caleb, harassing him at every turn until he finally snapped and assaulted him. That was when Diana washed her hands of me for good. You didn't need a PhD to figure out what happens to the villain who pisses off the main characters. So yeah, I was taking the money and running. Diana finally stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I patted my chest. Damn, what a temper. I muttered to myself. But then I thought about the settlement, and a huge grin spread across my face. This was the kind of windfall you only dream about. Just then my phone buzzed. It was a message from Elena Vance. Heard the Ice Queen finally graced you with her presence today. The text was dripping with sarcasm. Elena was Liam's childhood best friend, a spoiled heiress whose primary skills were partying and spending money. She couldn't stand Diana, and the feeling was mutual. After I married Diana, our families were forced to interact more, and Elena's grandfather never missed an opportunity to praise Diana while putting Elena down. It only made Elena hate her more. She was always calling me a lovesick fool. This message was just another way to rib me. Did I care? Please, I was too busy counting my imaginary cash to wallow in self-pity. Yeah, I typed back. I thought for a second, then snapped a picture of the signed divorce agreement and sent it to her. As of today, I'm a single man. You're buying me dinner, Elena. A second later, my phone was ringing. Are you insane? She shrieked the moment I answered. TSK, such harsh language. As soon as I'm out of this hospital, we're filing the papers. My injuries weren't too bad, just a minor concussion from hitting my head. So, are you going to celebrate with me, or what? Elena was silent for a moment, then she laughed. All right, Mr. Connor. What kind of celebration did you have in mind? Me? Didn't you just open a new club? A week later, I strolled out of the hospital dressed in an absurdly expensive suit. Elena stood with her arms crossed, smirking. What's with the suit? You look like you're going to a board meeting, not leaving a hospital. I clicked my tongue. You don't get it. Today is a special occasion. Elena rolled her eyes and turned to leave, only to nearly collide with Diana, who was just arriving. Diana's gaze flickered to Elena for a fraction of a second, her expression cold as steel. Hey, you're here. I walked over, giving Diana a bright smile. Where's the car? Her face softened slightly. In the parking garage. Let's go. Elena, however, wasn't having it. She tilted her head, her eyes narrowing at me. Liam, you're not riding with me? I waved a dismissive hand. Nah, Diana and I have to go to the courthouse to file the divorce papers. It's just easier to go with her. Then I turned to a suddenly rigid Diana. What are you waiting for? Let's go. Elena let out a snort of laughter. Right, can't delay the important stuff. Diana's lip curled into a sneer. You seem to be in a real hurry to get rid of me, Liam. Weren't you the one who wanted this divorce? What's with the passive-aggressive routine? I decided to be direct. Honestly, I've got plans tonight. I figured we could get this done early so I don't hold you up. Diana was always drowning in work, barely ever home. I knew she didn't want to see me, and I sure as hell didn't want to be stuck with her. A clean break was best for everyone. Expressionless, Diana turned and walked away. The courthouse was practically empty, so it was our turn in no time. Just as we were about to be called in, Diana's phone rang. I glanced over and saw the caller ID, Caleb Miller. She stepped aside to take the call, and I could faintly hear her soft, gentle murmur. Yeah, I'm still busy, something came up. She'd never used that tone with Liam. This marriage had been a mistake from the start. For 5 years they'd been at each other's throats. They could barely get through a meal together, let alone share a moment of tender concern. A clerk called out, Are you two next or not? I shook my head, feeling a pang of sympathy for the original Liam. He really meant nothing to her. Diana, I called out, my voice louder than intended. Can we please get my thing done first? Just this once. Diana was always putting Caleb first. The original Liam had argued and fought, but she'd never budged. The poor bastard thought he could actually win against Caleb. What a lost cause. Besides, if she just got this over with, she'd be free to be with her dream guy. It was a win-win. She flinched, then said into the phone, Have Dr. Evans take a look first. I'll be there as soon as I can. 20 minutes later, I was holding a freshly stamped divorce decree, my eyes welling up with tears of joy. It's done. My massive settlement is real. From this day forward, I was going to travel, party, and live my best life. I turned to her and said with genuine warmth, Diana, thank you and goodbye. Thanks for the cash, and I hope to never see you again. I walked out of the courthouse and immediately spotted Elena. It was hard to miss her leaning against a ridiculously flashy red Ferrari. My excitement surged. I'm rich. Time to spend it all. Just then, Diana's voice, a little hoarse, came from behind me. Liam. I turned back. Something else. She pressed her lips together, her expression unreadable. If I were the old Liam, I would have grilled her until she told me what was wrong, but I couldn't be bothered to pretend anymore. If there's nothing else, I'm leaving. I quickened my pace. For a side character like me, happiness meant staying as far away from the main characters as possible. As Elena sped away from the curb, I glanced in the rearview mirror one last time. Diana was still standing there, a solitary figure amidst the bustling crowd. Well, she's finally free of me. She should be relieved, right? Elena shot me a look. Having second thoughts? I grinned, my mind already on other things. You better have all the pretty hostesses at your club lined up for me tonight. Elena shook her head, exasperated. And here I was actually worried about you. I thought you were head over heels for her. But the second you're divorced, you've got the biggest smile I've ever seen. Is it that obvious? I asked myself. I adjusted the passenger side mirror and took a good long look at my face. Liam Connor, 28 years old. I might have aged a decade in spirit, but this face was still handsome, and, most importantly, it was rich. I mulled it over for a second. If she doesn't love me, there's no reason for me to love her. While we were stopped at a red light, Elena turned and stared at me for a long time. Just as I was starting to feel uncomfortable, she spoke, a hint of something deeper in her voice. You know, since the accident, you seem like a completely different person. My heart skipped a beat. I stayed quiet for a moment, then gave a casual shrug. Maybe a near-death experience just gives you a new perspective on things. Elena blinked, then a slow smile spread across her face. You've got a point. All right, tonight everything's on me. 2 hours later, Elena was regretting that offer. Her face was grim. Are you done ordering yet? She wasn't talking about the drinks. She was talking about the girls I'd asked to join our table. I raised my glass to her. Here, have a drink with me. Elena was speechless. I patted her on the shoulder and gestured to the beautiful women surrounding us. Look at them. They're sweet. They're gorgeous. Every single one of them is better than my ex-wife. After all, the world was full of beautiful women. He was rich and handsome. Why waste time pining over one person? The worst thing you can be is hung up on someone. Elena smirked. So you've finally seen the light. A slender beauty came over to pour me a drink, her voice sweet. Try this one, sir. Yes, please, I said, reaching for the glass. But Elena snatched it away. Don't mix your drinks. You just got out of the hospital. I'm not calling an ambulance for you tonight. She shot the girl a look, and the girl's face went pale as she bowed her head. I'm so sorry, sir, I didn't know. I waved her off magnanimously. It's fine, it's fine. Your big brother here is in a great mood. Then I gave Elena a teasing look. You want to talk? You let all your little boy toys pour you drinks, and you seem to enjoy it just fine. Elena sputtered with laughter. Is that even comparable? Why not? I was a newly minted millionaire. I could do whatever I wanted. Then Elena's expression shifted. By the way, have you told your parents? I froze. Oh crap, I completely forgot about that. Before I could answer, Elena gave me a look that said she already knew. Figured you didn't have the guts. It wasn't that I didn't want to tell them. I was afraid to. The original Liam didn't have a great relationship with his family. His parents were old-fashioned and favored his younger brother. He'd always been the rebellious one, and he'd had a massive falling out with them when he insisted on marrying Diana. Later, when Diana's career took off, they did a complete, constantly blaming him for their marital problems. Basically, this villainous side character had a pretty rough time of it. But still, the divorce is final. What's there to be afraid of? The days that followed were even better than I'd imagined. I had the housekeeper pack up all of Diana's things and ship them to her. This villa was a wedding gift from Liam's parents, but Diana had never liked staying here. Maybe every corner reminded her of the humiliation we had put her through in the beginning. She mostly slept at the office. Later, once she made it big, she bought a condo near her company headquarters. The original Liam went there once and ran right into Caleb Miller. Talk about awkward. Even though Caleb immediately explained he was just taking shelter from the rain, there was no way a guy with Liam's temper would buy that. He and Diana had a massive fight and didn't speak for a month. In the end, it was Liam who caved and apologized. Poor sap was completely wrapped around her finger. But now, this huge 3-story luxury villa was all mine. Diana didn't have much stuff here, but after it was all gone, the place felt a little empty, so I immediately went shopping. I hit my favorite high-end stores and went on a spree. This one, not that one, wrap up all the rest right away. Mr. Connor. The store manager was beaming. She was happy, and I was happy, a win-win. Several sales assistants followed me out, carrying my bags. Just as we stepped out of the store, I ran into Diana. She stopped short when she saw me, and I saw Caleb Miller trailing behind her. His legs seemed to have healed up nicely. He was already back to browsing luxury boutiques. Diana spoke first, her lips parting slightly. His mother's birthday is coming up. I'm helping him pick out a gift. I blinked. Oh, why are you telling me this? I don't care. Still, I gave a polite nod. Before I could make my escape, Caleb spoke up, his expression a mask of apology. Mr. Connor, I'm sorry. My leg is still giving me some trouble, so Diana offered to help me. It looks like you've got your hands full. Do you want Diana to give you a hand? I can manage on my own. Listen to this guy, a master class in passive aggression. Reminding Diana that I was the one who pushed him, telling me not to be jealous, and then magnanimously letting me have Diana. I smiled. No thanks, my car's just downstairs. Besides, I wouldn't want to trouble Ms. Hayes with my personal errands. Caleb froze. What? I feigned surprise and looked at Diana. Ms. Hayes, you haven't told Mr. Miller we're divorced? Dead silence. Caleb stared at Diana, his face a picture of shock. Diana's jaw was clenched, and she looked furious. I don't like to publicize my private life. Excuse me? Was it a dig at me? All I did was throw a few parties to celebrate the divorce. What's with the saltiness? Caleb seemed genuinely blindsided. He stammered, Diana, you and Mr. Connor, why didn't you tell me? At the sound of his voice, Diana seemed to remember he was there. Her lips moved, and after a pause, she said quietly, I've been busy lately. TSK, she used to use that exact line on Liam. Now it was Caleb's turn. But the male lead and the side character were two different species. For Caleb, that line was the best news he could have heard. His eyes darted between us, and he said apologetically, I'm sorry, I didn't know. I didn't mean to bring it up, Mr. Connor. I hope you're not upset. Of course I wasn't upset. She was a woman I had no connection to anymore. Nope. Well, you two have fun shopping. My sales associate is holding all my stuff, and it's heavy. I should get going. Just as I turned to leave, Diana said suddenly, wait. I looked back. Is there something else, Miss Hayes? Diana frowned, clearly still not used to my new attitude. My mom called yesterday. She said it's been a while since you visited. Her voice dropped as if the words were hard to say, but necessary. If you have time, you should go see her. She was talking about her mother, the one with kidney failure. Unlike Diana, her mom had always adored Liam. Diana had never told her she'd been forced into the marriage. In the older woman's eyes, I was a wealthy young man who didn't look down on their family and Ed on her daughter. Of course, she saw him through rose-colored glasses. In the early days of their marriage, Liam had gone out of his way to care for her mother just to get on Diana's good side. He knew it was his last bargaining chip. Diana was a devoted daughter. For her mother's sake, she wouldn't completely cut him off. But when we assaulted Caleb, he touched her final nerve, and that last trump card was gone. I thought about it and agreed. All right, I'll go tomorrow. The old woman hadn't done anything wrong, after all. Diana's expression relaxed. I'll pick you up in the morning, she said, her tone softening. I smiled at her and dangled my car keys. No need. I can drive myself. I wouldn't want to trouble you, Miss Hayes. The expressions on both Diana's and Caleb's faces froze solid. The next morning I drove out to the care facility. It was a high-end place in the suburbs with top-notch facilities and service, which naturally meant the fees were astronomical. Mr. Connor, you're here. A nurse greeted me politely. She was hired by Diana and knew about our strained relationship, so her attitude toward me was always a bit chilly. Diana's mother was lying in bed. Years of dialysis had left her frail and thin, but her condition had stabilized since moving into the facility. The nurse, a young woman named Sarah, glanced at the insulated food container in my hand and sniffed dismissively. Even the staff looked down on my attempts to win favor, knowing full well that no matter what I did, it would only make Diana resent me more. Liam, Diana's mom said, her face lighting up with a kind smile when she saw me. You must be busy. It's been so long. I sighed internally. The original Liam had only ever used her, but she believed his act completely. The old woman herself had done nothing wrong. A little busy, yeah? I brought you some chicken soup. You can try it later. She took my hand, her gaze searching my face. Is it Diana? She asked softly. Did that girl upset you again? I shook my head, but she didn't believe me. She sighed. Diana has been stubborn since she was a little girl, always bottling things up. If she made you unhappy, you tell me. I'll talk to her. A wave of guilt washed over me. I planned on telling her about the divorce, but now the words were stuck in my throat. I ate with her, and we chatted for a while. As I was getting ready to leave, I hesitated, then finally managed to say, I'm going to be really busy for a while. I might not be able to visit as often. Start by cutting back on visits, then find the right time to tell her. That should soften the blow. There was no way to hide it forever. Even if I wanted to, Diana wouldn't allow it. If I kept showing up, she'd think I still had designs on her. Her mother patted my hand and sighed softly. Well, you're a good boy. That business before. Diana wasn't wrong. She never talks about it in front of me, but I know she feels terrible. She regrets it. She loves you so much. How could she not be heartbroken when she lost the baby? My heart plummeted. The baby. Right. That was the incident that had shattered Liam and Diana's relationship for good. There had been a child. A baby conceived one night when Diana was drunk and Liam took advantage of the situation, to put it mildly. The child's conception was not a happy one, but in Liam's mind, it was the ultimate trump card to bind Diana to him forever. When Diana found out she was pregnant, she was torn between guilt toward her true love, Caleb, and the maternal instinct she couldn't deny. In the end, she chose the baby. Having had a difficult childhood herself, she couldn't bear the thought of her own child being born into a broken home. That period was the peak of her relationship with Liam. She took the prenatal vitamins he prepared, she read parenting books, she was genuinely trying to be a good mother. Which is why, when she had the miscarriage, she cut him off completely. The whole thing was absurd. After Diana got pregnant, Liam sensed the shift in her attitude and became even more possessive, demanding her constant attention. Anytime she tried to refuse, he'd use the baby as an excuse, prenatal education, parent-child bonding, and she'd have to give in. But over time, she grew to resent it. Once, Diana had to go on a business trip and Caleb was going with her. Liam absolutely forbade it, demanding she send someone else and stay home to rest. Diana felt he was suffocating her, that he was paranoid and controlling. They had a huge fight. Liam, can you please act like a normal person for once? Stop thinking everyone is as despicable as you are. After shouting those words, Diana stormed out. That same night, Liam got the call. Overcome with anger, Diana had gone into premature labor and lost the baby. Predictably, their relationship imploded. If Diana had merely disliked Liam before, after the miscarriage, it turned to pure hatred. She never set foot in their house again, never contacted him until Liam tracked down Caleb and pushed him down the stairs. That was the final, irreversible nail in the coffin. Seriously, the original Liam was a madman. He burned down his own life just to spite someone else. I was silent for a moment, then said, It's all in the past. The old Liam was gone. These stories would end with him. Leaving the care facility, I felt a wave of melancholy wash over me. Whether for Diana's mother or the original Liam, I couldn't say. That melancholy peaked when I realized I'd somehow lost my car keys. I called Elena in desperation. Come get me now. Elena sounded incredulous. Am I your personal driver now? On call 24/7. I'll pay you, I said. Elena groaned. The facility was in a remote area, making it nearly impossible to get an Uber. Defeated, she finally came. By the time I got back to my place, it was dark. To make matters worse, the sky opened up in a downpour. Watching the torrential rain, I took pity on her and offered her the guest room on the second floor. I never expected the doorbell to ring first thing the next morning. Jesus Christ, who the hell is here at this hour? I stumbled to the door, half asleep. Who? What are you doing here? Standing on my doorstep was Diana. Before she could speak, footsteps echoed from the top of the stairs and Elena's voice, laced with sleep-deprived irritation, called out, Who is it? Diana's face instantly turned to ice, her words seeming to be squeezed from between clenched teeth. It seems I've come at a bad time. Sorry to interrupt. I roll my eyes internally. Oh, so you do realize you're bothering people? And what's with the attitude? This is my house. You're just the ex-wife. Who are you trying to fool with that betrayed look? I'm the one who should be pissed about your emotional affair. I turned back to Elena. It's nothing. Go back to sleep. Elena could be a princess when she was cranky, and she was only stuck here because of me. The least I could do was let her get some rest. Seeing Diana, Elena seemed to wake up a bit. A lazy smile played on her lips. Oh, we have a guest? It would be rude of me to go back to bed. Liam, why don't you invite her in? Mercy, I told you she gets crazy when she doesn't get enough sleep. I ignored her and looked back at Diana with no intention of letting her in. I just had all her stuff cleared out. I wasn't about to let her track dirt back into my clean house and make more work for the housekeeper. It's early, Miss Hayes. What can I do for you? I asked. Diana's face was slightly pale, Elena's words having clearly struck a nerve. But she couldn't lash out. Before, she could have played the lady of the house and ordered Elena to leave, but now she had less right to be here than Elena. She couldn't even get through the door. But women like her have incredible self-control. Diana was no exception. She took a deep breath, her gaze fixed on me, and pulled a key from her pocket. You left this at my mom's place yesterday. She asked me to bring it to you. The implication was clear. She was only here on her mother's orders. Oh, thanks, I said, taking the key. You really didn't have to make a special trip. I have a spare. Diana was momentarily speechless. I waited a few seconds, my patience wearing thin. I gave her a gentle hint. Was there anything else, Miss Hayes? If she couldn't tell that was a dismissal, she hadn't earned her corner office. She pressed her lips together. No. Slam. I shut the door in her face. Elena was standing on the stairs, watching me. Aren't you going back to bed? I asked, confused. Why are you staring at me like that? Elena narrowed her eyes, crossing her arms. Nothing. Just thinking you're being a little cold to your ex-wife. I was speechless. If you have nothing better to say, you don't have to say anything at all. Elena lifted her chin. Liam, don't tell me you can't see what she's up to. I shot back. What is she up to? She leaned back against the railing, speaking in a lazy drawl. She wanted to see you, obviously. Otherwise, she wouldn't have driven all the way out here at the crack of dawn just to return a car key. And she certainly wouldn't have looked so furious to find Elena here. I tilted my head, and Elena tapped a finger on the railing, her tone casual. And you don't feel anything? Feel anything? Like I was supposed to run after her the second she showed a flicker of interest? The idea was laughable. Yet I do. Elena looked over, her eyes sharp, her posture suddenly tense. I shrugged. I feel like I should have divorced her sooner. If I'd known what she was really like, I would have given up on her years ago. Wasted so much damn time. Elena seemed taken aback by my response. She paused for a moment, then turned her head and laughed. Well, look at you, Liam. You've finally grown a spine. Feeling emboldened, I couldn't resist firing back. Hey, I still have a lot to learn from you. She was the true master, flitting from one conquest to the next without ever getting attached. Elena, I've told you 1,000,000 times, I have nothing to do with those guys. I quickly backpedaled. I know. You're just having fun. You haven't met your soulmate yet. Wasn't that how it went in romance novels? The badass rich girl always meets her one true love and ends up paying back all her emotional debts with interest. Elena shot me an exasperated look, muttered, I knew it was pointless talking to a moron like you, and went back to bed. I slept until the afternoon, woken up by a rumbling stomach. When I checked my phone, I saw a ton of missed calls and messages from my parents. A quick scan told me why they were suddenly blowing up my phone. They found out about the divorce. You and Diana are divorced? What were you thinking? I've told you 100 times, Diana's company is at a critical growth stage, and we're in the middle of partnership negotiations with her. How could you do this to us? How old are you? Why are you still so impulsive? You don't just get a divorce. Don't you ever think about anyone but yourself? You're so selfish. I don't have a son like you. It was the same old stuff on a loop. I skimmed for a minute, then gave up and went downstairs to find food. Something smells amazing. I stared dumbfounded at the feast laid out on the dining table and Elena, who was leisurely enjoying it. Elena, you have no soul. You're eating all this by yourself. She arched an eyebrow. Was I supposed to starve just because you were sleeping? Damn it, that was a good point. I walked over, grabbed some chopsticks, and snagged a piece of my favorite Kung Pao chicken. Say what you will about Elena, but the girl knew how to eat. Even her takeout choices were better than anyone else's. By the way, your parents called me, she said suddenly. They said they needed to talk to you, but you weren't answering. I shoveled another piece of braised pork into my mouth. I know. Elena's chopsticks paused. She glanced at my phone. Should I give you some privacy? I waved her off. Don't bother. Let them say what they want. It's already done. There's nothing they can do about it. As if on cue, my phone rang again. I answered it. Before I could say a word, I was hit with a barrage of shouting. Liam, you go to Diana right now and tell her you're sorry. Tell her you were just being impulsive. Beg her to take you back. Listening to the shrill voice on the other end, I held the phone away from my ear. Get back together? She's got to be kidding. I was pretty sure getting yelled at was a better option than dying at Diana's hands. Liam, are you even listening to me? I finally found an opening. I'm listening, but that sounds like a lot of work. Not really something I can do. That only made her angrier. Liam, is that any way to talk to your mother? I asked, genuinely puzzled. Didn't you just say you don't have a son? Did you forget? She was instantly silent. She seemed about to start yelling again, but I was done listening. Look, I made myself clear. I'm busy. We'll talk some other time. I hung up and immediately blocked her number. Elena, who had witnessed the entire exchange, dropped her chopsticks, gave me a thorough head-to-toe inspection, and then asked in disbelief, Damn, Liam. Not only did you dump your ex-wife, but you're standing up to your parents now too. My mouth was still full of pork, but I managed to mumble, where there is oppression, there is resistance. Elena let out a dismissive laugh, leaning forward slightly and propping her chin on her hand, a smirk playing on her lips. So, does that mean I'm next on your list? I gave her a thumbs up, impressed with her self-awareness. Her reaction wasn't surprising. She'd grown up with the original Liam. She knew exactly what kind of person he was. From her perspective, my recent behavior could probably be summed up in one word: insane. But then again, who wouldn't go a little crazy dealing with this mess? I was just a side character without any plot armor. Getting out early was my only smart move. Hey, help me look for a new place, I said. This house is fine, but getting surprised visitors is a real pain. It wasn't just Diana, it was my family too. Every single one of them was a headache. I'd burn my bridges with them today, but who knew if they'd show up here? I wanted nothing to do with them. Elena understood immediately. You got it. Leave it to me. Elena proved to be an incredibly competent rich kid. Though she spent most of her time partying, she was surprisingly reliable when you needed her. The very next day, she called to tell me she'd found a penthouse on the Upper West Side. The owner moved abroad and needs to sell fast. It was just renovated, never lived in. You're getting a steal. I was impressed by her speed. That same day, I dragged her with me to meet the owner, sign a contract, and finalize the sale as quickly as possible. Then I immediately listed the old villa. I called a moving company, and soon a team of movers was bustling up and down the stairs. I just stood there watching in disbelief. I never realized how much crap the original Liam had accumulated. I definitely have to tip these guys extra. Mr. Connor, what's in this box? It's really heavy, one of the movers said, carrying a large cardboard box down from the third floor. It was sealed tight with no indication of its contents. I was about to go check it out when my phone rang. Hello? Is this Mr. Connor? This is Mount Sinai Hospital. Your wife collapsed on the street and was brought in. Can you please come as soon as you can? I froze. Diana collapsed? I think you have the wrong number, I said quickly. I'm not her husband. The person on the other end sounded surprised. But the patient's phone lists you as. I remembered. When Diana was pregnant, Liam had insisted on changing his contact name in her phone to Baby's Daddy Liam. She couldn't argue with him and just let him do it. I couldn't believe she still hadn't changed it after all this time. How is she? The patient likely fainted due to low blood sugar. It's not life-threatening, but her overall condition isn't good. It would be best if you could, I understand, but I'm a little busy right now. Can you try calling her current boyfriend? His name is Caleb Miller. His number should be in her contacts. Please direct all future updates to him. I hung up and saw that the living room was now filled with even more boxes. How long is this going to take? Just take it all, I told the movers. I'll sort through it when I have time. Luckily, the new apartment was spacious. I had the housekeeper help me get things mostly unpacked. Then I settled in for a few rounds of video games and went to try a new, hip-it-up steakhouse that had been all over Instagram. The food was incredible and the decor was even better. I couldn't resist snapping a few pictures and posting them to my story. Checked in. Another day of gains. I captioned it, adding a handsome selfie for good measure. Likes and comments poured in. Even Elena, who rarely engaged with my posts, commented, "That place is solid." I replied, "You've been, Elena?" Of course, I own it. I had no words. She just had to one-up me, didn't she? What I didn't expect, however, was a comment from Caleb Miller. It was one of those comments that was polite on the surface, but dripping with passive-aggressive accusation. Liam, I know you and Diana are divorced, but she's lying in a hospital bed right now. Is it really appropriate for you to be out enjoying yourself instead of even checking on her? Me? What is your problem? His comment set my DMs on fire. Only a few people knew about the divorce, and I hadn't figured out how to announce it yet. Leave it to him to put me on blast from his moral high ground. I replied in an equally sarcastic tone. A good ex is supposed to act like he's dead. I was just trying not to make you uncomfortable. But if you don't mind, I'll head right over. After all, we were classmates. It's only right to visit a sick friend, don't you think? My followers went wild. A few minutes later, Caleb deleted his comment. Oh, so you think deleting it makes it go away? I immediately posted a new story. Question for the room. What's an appropriate gift to bring when visiting your ex-wife and her new boyfriend in the hospital? Asking for a friend. This is very important. An hour later, I was striding toward the hospital with a fruit basket. As I reached the door to her room, I could hear Caleb's voice, full of pity. Diana, don't be so upset. I know I was wrong to post that, but I was just doing it for you. Diana was silent. Caleb sounded both angry and hurt. You collapsed. The hospital called him, and he couldn't even be bothered to come see you. What if something had happened to you today? He was making it sound like it was all my fault. Finally, Diana's tired voice cut through. I'm a little tired, Caleb. I'd like to be alone for a bit. A moment later, I heard a chair scrape against the floor, and Caleb walked toward the door. He opened it and froze when he saw me. Diana sensed the change in the room and turned her head. Her face was pale, stripped of its usual commanding presence. Lying in the hospital bed with an IV in her arm, she looked fragile. When she saw me, her dull eyes seemed to spark with a flicker of light. She looked both nervous and lost. Liam, what are you doing here? I walked past Caleb and into the room. Just trying to stop the rumor mill from churning, I said breezily. Can't have people saying I don't care about my ex-wife's well-being right after we divorce, right? We were college classmates, after all. No need for things to be so dramatic, right? Diana's face grew even paler, her lips pressed into a thin line. She must have seen the exchange on Instagram. For someone as proud as her, being publicly discussed like that had to be a humiliating slap in the face. Her resentment toward me probably just leveled up. The thought of it all just made me tired. Well, I made my appearance. If there's nothing else, I'll be heading out. Diana's jaw twitched. Liam, do you have to be like this? I arched an eyebrow, my voice sincere. Like what? It took you 3 days to visit me after my car accident. Compared to that, I'd say I'm being incredibly decent, wouldn't you? When it came to being heartless, nobody could top the story's heroine. The color drained from her face. She opened her mouth as if to say something, but just then my phone rang. It was my housekeeper. Mr. Connor, most of your things are unpacked, but there's one box I haven't touched. It's full of pottery. What would you like me to do with it? I paused. Pottery? Yes. And it looks like you made it yourself, so I wanted to ask you first. My gaze flickered to Diana. She looked surprised too. Then a flash of a memory, not quite my own, surfaced. Oh right, the pottery. I didn't make it. In college, Diana worked part-time at one of those DIY pottery studios. The original Liam, in his desperate pursuit of her, used to go there and spend entire afternoons ostensibly to learn. He had no talent and even less patience. His only goal was to be near her. He'd always end up covered in clay, leaving with some hideously misshapen masterpiece. He did this relentlessly, without a shred of shame. Eventually, Diana couldn't take it anymore and told him he was doing it all wrong. Liam immediately seized the opportunity. Then you have to teach me yourself. Of course, she refused. But Liam was the studio's biggest customer, and she couldn't afford to alienate him. He only stopped when she finally quit the job. That box of art was the result of his pathetic efforts. It's nothing important, I said dismissively. Just throw it all out. Wait. Diana cut in suddenly. You moved? I had to give her credit. She was sharp when she wanted to be. I nodded curtly. I did. She frowned, pressing further. What? Did you move? Why so suddenly? I couldn't help but laugh. Ms. Hayes, Diana, how many times do I have to remind you? We're divorced. Where I live and what I do is none of your business. A sob caught in Diana's throat, as if she'd heard something she couldn't process. Her eyes began to redden. After a moment, she finally conceded, her voice low. The pottery. If you don't want it, I can send someone to pick it up. I gave her a strange look. They were my things to begin with. I'll keep them if I want, and I'll toss them if I want. I don't know why. My words tripped in her head, but the last spark of light in her eyes vanished like a tiny flame snuffed out by the wind. Caleb rushed to her side, concerned. Diana, are you okay? Diana turned her head slightly, avoiding his touch. He was left standing there looking incredibly awkward, but I had no interest in their drama. I turned to leave. Just as I reached the door, a doctor stopped me. Oh, I looked up to see a woman in her a physician studying me. What are you doing here? Are you not feeling well? I was confused. Then I saw the name tag on her coat, head of obstetrics. A cold realization began to dawn on me. The only reason the original Liam would have ever interacted with this doctor was the baby. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine, I said vaguely. Just visiting a friend. She seemed relieved. That's good. But you two aren't getting any younger. If you have another child, you can't just give up on it so easily. I stood there, completely stunned. That one sentence contained a universe of information. Another child? Give up on it. Diana didn't have a miscarriage? What the hell was this doctor talking about? Right. That night when we rushed to the hospital, Diana was already out of surgery. Caleb was sitting by her bed. Diana, what are you doing? Just as my mind was reeling, a shout from Caleb pulled me back. I turned to see Diana ripping the 4 out of her own arm, shoving Caleb aside, and striding toward me. She planted herself in front of the doctor, her voice sharp with panic. Doctor, this is a private matter between my husband and me. It has nothing to do with you. A chill ran down my spine. I turned my head stiffly and looked at Diana, seeing her beautiful face as if for the first time. A stranger's face. Diana, what the hell is going on? The doctor's brow furrowed. You don't know? She asked, looking from me to Diana. Your wife told me you were both focusing on your careers and didn't want a child right now. She chose to have an abortion. You mean to tell me you knew nothing about it? I was in a daze. I don't even remember how I got home. The news hit me like a physical blow, leaving me completely disoriented. I sat in the study for a long time, just staring into space, then closed my eyes. How is that possible? The book said they had a huge fight and Liam's jealousy caused her to have a miscarriage. How did it become this? I couldn't make sense of it. As I thought about it, a phantom pain bloomed somewhere deep inside me, sharp and real. It felt like I could actually feel his despair, his agony at learning the child was gone. The feeling was deeply unsettling. I shook my head, trying to dislodge the emotions. The study had just been cleaned by the housekeeper. I rummaged around and found the box labeled college, and at the very bottom, I found an old photo album. If the miscarriage was different from the novel, what else might be wrong? I opened the first page. It was a photo from freshman orientation week. The sun was bright, and a young man in a generic university t-shirt was grinning at the camera. On the stage behind him stood a slender, poised young woman. Even from a distance, it was unmistakably a younger Diana. Underneath the photo, a few lines were scrawled in pen. First day of orientation. A girl fainted right next to me. I carried her to the nurse's office. She was so light. Didn't expect to see her on stage today, giving the freshman address. Her name is Diana Hayes. Using a selfie to sneak a picture of a crush, classic. This must have been right when he first fell for her. I almost laughed. The great Liam Connor's epic love story was just a cheesy case of love at first sight. I touched my own face. The Liam in the book was selfish, possessive, and extreme. He seemed worlds away from the bright-eyed kid in this photo. It was hard to imagine the boy with so much light in his eyes would become that paranoid, controlling monster. I kept flipping. Every single photo was of Diana. Diana in a massive lecture hall. Diana on the tennis court, mid-swing. Diana eating alone in the cafeteria. Diana working at the pottery studio. Occasionally there were more notes scribbled in the margins. The elective she picked is so boring. I don't understand a thing. How can a girl be so smart and so good at sports? She always eats alone and always picks the cheapest options. Is she getting enough to eat? She always seems so busy. Doesn't even have time to say a word to me. Villain scrapbook? This was the diary of a boy with a secret, all-consuming crush. For 4 years he documented her life from afar. Every picture, every sentence was a direct contradiction of the character in the novel. I think she likes someone, but it's not me. What do? Maybe I should just give up. Graduation is tomorrow. Maybe I should just tell her how I feel, get it over with, and then say goodbye to this crush for good. She left in the middle of the graduation photos. I followed her. Found out her mom's condition got worse. She needs a lot of money. What is she going to do? The page that should have held a graduation photo was blank. Because of Diana, Liam had missed his own. My hand trembled slightly. For some reason, the album felt impossibly heavy, pressing down on me, making it hard to turn a page. It felt like if I kept going, something irreversible would happen. My chest was tight, like a stone was sitting on it, making it hard to breathe. But some unseen force compelled me to turn the page again. It was a wedding photo, or rather, it was the photo from their marriage license. Liam was smiling, a more reserved smile than in his college photos. His lips tilted up slightly, his body angled almost imperceptibly toward Diana. Diana, however, was completely stoic, her placid expression a stark contrast to the festive red background required for the license. I remembered then, they never had a real wedding photo shoot. After a year of indecision, Diana had finally agreed to marry him. She wasn't marrying the man she loved, so she had no interest in the pomp and circumstance. Her mother was still in the hospital, so they skipped the wedding and the photos, just went to the courthouse and got the license. I'd expected this page, the day he finally got the girl, to be filled with words, but it was completely blank. I stared at the picture for a long time, an indescribable knot forming in my stomach. 5 years of crushing on her, 5 years of marriage, and this was their only photo together. I pushed down the feeling and turned the page again, only to find there were no more pictures of Diana, just a few scattered sentences. She seems so busy lately. The company is just starting up. She has to do everything herself. It's so hard on her. I made her favorite sweet and sour ribs, but she came home late from a work dinner smelling of alcohol and just collapsed in bed. She bought a condo near the office. Said it was for convenience. But why is he there too? I know I'll never mean as much to her as he does, but I still want us to have a child together. Am I hopeless? I went to the care facility today and ran into Elena. She was with her grandfather. She told me I was an idiot, that a woman like Diana would never fall for my stupid tricks. I walked away because I knew she was right. I was about to give up, but she came home tonight drunk. I think a deal went bad. I couldn't stop myself from kissing her, and for the first time, she kissed me back. And there's a large blank space until a single line on a new page. I think she's pregnant. I kept reading. The next 2 months were indeed the best period of their relationship. Even though he knew Diana's change of heart was only because of the baby, he didn't care. He was desperate. He had fallen for her so long ago, so completely. He once thought she was the light of his life. He wanted to draw warmth and love from her. But the foundation was rotten from the start. This beautiful illusion was destined to be shattered. The last page held a document torn to pieces and painstakingly taped back together. A consent form for an induced abortion. In the bottom right corner was Diana's signature. It was like a lightning strike. A searing pain shot through me, leaving me numb and cold. Countless images flashed through my mind. A violent, surging tide threatening to drown me. I was a fish gasping for air before a storm, only to be dragged under by a massive wave. I couldn't breathe, couldn't move. And then I remembered everything. I didn't travel into a novel. I am Liam Connor. The sudden ringing of my phone was deafening in the silent study. I came back to myself. It was Elena. I answered, and before I could speak, she asked bluntly, "Did you go to the hospital to see Diana today?" She was supposed to be on a flight for a business trip. She shouldn't know the details of my day. I posted on Instagram, sure, but she seemed to know too much, down to the timing. "Yeah," I admitted. "How did you know?" She paused. "Diana called me. Asked some questions about you." "Oh, I see." I didn't press for more. Hearing my flat tone, Elena seemed to realize something was off. Her voice softened. "It's late. You're not asleep yet." Just as I was about to answer, the doorbell rang. It was Diana. I hung up with Elena and went downstairs. I opened the door, but didn't let her in. The sky outside was completely dark now, and the streetlight behind her cast long shadows, leaving her face half lit, half obscured. "What do you want?" I asked. Her lips were pale. I came to apologize. It had been at least 3 hours since I'd left the hospital. It took her this long to think of that. "Don't bother," I said flatly. "It's over." It was too late. I didn't need her apology anymore. Diana's face turned even whiter. Liam, Liam, listen to me. I can explain. I was just acting on impulse that day. Is it an impulse, or was it premeditated? I asked quietly. Being pregnant with my child? It must have been agony for you. Diana froze. After a long moment, she closed her eyes, her words precise and heavy. At first, I really didn't want the baby. But then as it grew, I was just confused that day. I regretted it. A little late for regrets, don't you think? Remorse filled her eyes, and her shoulders trembled. She was speechless. A small, bitter smile touched my lips. Letting me believe you had a miscarriage because of me. I'd be racked with guilt, right? I wouldn't be able to use the baby to control you anymore. I'd have to let you go. That was the plan, wasn't it? Diana stared, stunned. In her subconscious, she had cemented this image of me as a selfish, possessive, jealous monster. Without the baby, I would have no reason to chain her to me. She opened her mouth, each word seeming to tear at her. But that was between us. What? Why did you have to go after Caleb? I just looked at her. This woman, the woman I had loved for 10 years, and even now, at this moment, the person she was worried about was another man. I laughed. No reason. I just can't stand him. He deserved it. Hey, the baby's gone and we're divorced, Diana. You can finally be with him. You should be happy. No, she cried, as if a switch had been flipped. She lunged forward and grabbed my wrist. I don't love him. I don't. Liam, please don't talk to me like that. Can't we? I scowled, about to shove her away, when a light, mocking laugh came from behind her. Well, looks like I'm interrupting. Diana froze. I saw who it was. Elena, who was supposed to be out of town. She tucked a stray piece of hair behind her ear, her beautiful eyes cold. Diana, didn't I tell you? You're the one who wanted the divorce. Stop harassing him. Diana bit her lip, her gaze filled with just as much hostility. My business with Liam is none of your damn business. Elena arched an eyebrow and sauntered over in her heels, stopping beside me and linking her arm through mine. My heart jumped. Elena. She glanced at me, her smile both alluring and innocent. What? Thinking of going back for seconds. My head was spinning. I shook it. No. But what about you? Why are you back so soon? She lifted her chin. If I didn't come back, I'd have to watch her bother you all night. Diana stared daggers at the hand Elena had on my arm, her eyes turning red. Elena, don't act so noble. We both know what you really want. Elena just laughed. She turned back to her, her smile saccharine. Oh, since you're so perceptive, Ms. Hayes, why don't you tell us all? What is it I want? But Diana clammed up, her lips pressed into a thin, stubborn line. Elena scoffed. What? Cack out your tongue. Fine, I'll say it. I've been waiting and hoping for you two to get a divorce so I could finally make my move. This is a golden opportunity, and I plan on taking full advantage of it. The night wind carried her voice, and every word hammered against my eardrums, a silent drumbeat in my chest. Elena continued. You, Diana. If you had eyes, if you had a single shred of conscience, you wouldn't have dared to ask him those questions. You can't possibly believe someone will just forgive you forever, that you'll always get another chance, do you? Diana's face went chalk white. Her body swayed, and she looked like she might collapse. She mumbled, her voice cracking, I really didn't mean to. Elena seemed done with listening. She cut her off, her voice dropping several degrees. I told you, he was finally starting to forget, to move on. Did you have to dredge it all up again? My head snapped toward Elena. Her words, something was off. Did she know? But Elena didn't notice my reaction. She just said flatly, go home, and don't come back. Diana stumbled, her eyes losing focus, looking completely lost. I couldn't watch anymore. I turned to her and said, look, you wanted to know why I went after Caleb and what I thought about the baby. I've answered you. From this day forward, you and we have nothing to do with each other. I turned to go inside. Suddenly, there was a soft thud behind me. Diana had fallen to her knees. Liam, she whispered, her voice trembling uncontrollably. I know I was wrong. It was all my fault. Please, just give me one more chance. Let's start over, okay? Elena's first reaction was to look at me. Her usual brash, spoiled confidence was gone, replaced by a raw vulnerability. Her bright, beautiful eyes were locked on mine, her hand hanging at her side clenched into a fist. Her face was tense, She was terrified. Diana was waiting for my answer, and so was she. I turned back and looked down at Diana. Diana, we were married for 5 years. I wasn't charming like Caleb. I just brought you trouble. I was possessive, demanding, and immature to the extreme. That's what you think of me, isn't it? Diana's face was ashen. I added quietly. In fact, this whole marriage was something I forced on you. If it wasn't for your mother, you never would have been with me, never would have gotten tangled up with me in the first place. That's your final judgment on our marriage, Diana. That's what you said to me, word for word, right before the accident, isn't it? Diana's expression was one of pure agony, her eyes wide with panic. I was just angry. I didn't mean any of it. It was that speech that made me finally understand what a pathetic, disgusting, and hateful person I was in her eyes. After losing the child, I'd been devastated, ready to let her go, believing a man like me didn't deserve her. That's why I agreed when Caleb asked to meet. I wanted to clear the air, to finally deal with the man who had haunted our marriage from the beginning. But I never got to ask my questions that day, because Caleb handed me the abortion consent form. Liam, you didn't really think a baby could win Diana's heart, did you? I was right there when you called her. I heard everything. I even told her she should listen to you, stay home from the trip. But you know what she said? She said you were just using the baby to trap her, and it was suffocating. You've been into her since freshman year, right? Oh yeah, because she fainted during orientation and you carried her to the nurse's office. Being a good Samaritan is nice and all, but you can't expect a girl to marry you over one little thing, can you? Liam, stop being a fool. You're always like this, and Diana hates it. She even grew to hate the baby because it was yours. It's yours. I never expected Caleb to deliberately throw himself down the stairs. I never expected Diana to show up at that exact moment. She didn't even bother to listen to my side of the story, just knelt by Caleb's side, crying, her concern for him palpable. She never once glanced in my direction. Later, when I finally got a chance to see her, I tried to confront her about the baby, but she cut me off with those vicious words. Liam, when are you going to stop? Don't you know that every single thing about you makes me sick? I wandered the streets for hours that day, her words echoing in my head. Am I selfish? Am I extreme? Am I hateful? Then the out-of-control car hit me, and everything went black. When I woke up, I had become another version of myself, the version that existed in Diana's eyes. She had built this false world for me, and in it, I was insane and selfish, obsessive and absurd. Most importantly, in that world, I was instinctively, blessedly, no longer in love with her. I stared into Diana's eyes and spoke calmly. But Diana, in this world, I don't love you anymore either. It was my love that had put you on a pedestal, and you were never worthy of it. The next morning, the sun was shining brightly when I woke up. The smell of breakfast drew me to the kitchen, where Elena was cooking. I stopped in my tracks. Ms. Vance, to what do I owe the honor of you gracing my kitchen? Elena gestured with her chin toward the front yard. The day the trash finally got taken out. Me? Diana had knelt outside all night. I hadn't cared. I dragged a still fuming Elena back inside, shut the door, and gone to bed, in separate rooms, of course. I sat at the table and took a bite of the French toast she'd made. Also the day of Ms. Vance's first ever culinary failure. Elena rushed over, trying to snatch the toast away. It's burnt. Don't eat it. I'll make you another one. I leaned away. It's fine. What a waste. It's not that bad. Elena looked at me, unconvinced. Really? I held up the toast. Try it. Just as she leaned in to take a bite, I leaned forward and kissed the corner of her mouth. She froze, a deep blush spreading up her neck into her ears. Liam, I grinned, gently pinching her cheek. I heard you. I heard you. No need to shout. It's a much higher pitch than your confession last night, Elena. She fumed for a moment, then buried her face in my chest, her voice muffled. I thought you'd forgotten everything. Right after the accident, you lost so many memories. I was genuinely worried I'd be taking care of a big dummy for the rest of my life. I stroked her hair. How could I? Even if I forgot who I was, I never forgot you. In that period of my life when I didn't know or trust myself, she was the one person I never questioned, the one person I trusted completely. She looked up at me, a satisfied smile on her face. Took you long enough to get smart. This lady didn't waste all these years loving you for nothing. I felt a pang in my chest. Elena, how could you be even blinder than me? falling for a guy like me. She preened. It just proves my taste is better. I knew how to wait for someone worth waiting for. I smiled too. Yeah, you're the best. Diana's POV. Lately, I kept running into this one guy. He was in my classes, at the tennis courts, even at my part-time job. He tried to make it look like a coincidence, but he was a terrible actor. He wore his heart on his sleeve. It was annoying. It wasn't the first time a guy had liked me, but no one had ever been so blatant about it. I figured he'd give up after a while, but he was unbelievably stubborn. I started deliberately spending more time with Caleb, hoping he'd get the message and back off. The sadness in his eyes was plain to see. And then, sure enough, he disappeared for a while. I was relieved, but part of me also thought, of course, a guy like him only ever has a fleeting interest in anything. He's a rich kid, after all. Never had to work for anything. He's not like us. I remembered Caleb's words, and my mood soured even more. I even found a reason to turn Caleb down when he hinted we should be together. I didn't have the time or energy for a relationship. I had to take care of my parents, to support my family. Thankfully, Caleb was always understanding. He knew my situation and never brought it up again, just focused on helping me. But then disaster struck. My mother's condition worsened, and she needed an astronomical amount of money for her treatment. Just when I thought I had nowhere to turn, that guy showed up again. "What do you want?" I asked. He shook his head. I laughed coldly, though I wasn't sure if I was laughing at him or myself. "Then let's be together," I heard my own voice say. I knew what he wanted, and he still had the nerve to play innocent. But I had no choice. I needed the money, so I sold myself. His relationship with his family was terrible, so he was always trying to cling to me. But I was so busy, who had the time? Eventually, he started seeking me out less. I thought he'd finally gotten a clue, but it turned out he just redirected his energy to harassing Caleb. I confronted him about it several times, but he always denied it, and our arguments always ended in a bitter stalemate. When he finally backed off, I was relieved. But then I saw him at the care facility, talking to another woman. It was Elena Vance. I knew who she was, his childhood friend from a family as wealthy as his. If it weren't for me, they would have been the perfect couple. I'm a woman. I knew exactly what her look meant, the way she looked at him. He could complain to her, argue with her, banter back and forth. He never did any of that with me. How could he?